All right, everyone, get ready for this one because we're taking a deep dive into some pretty bold claims about the future of data analytics. We're really going to dissect this report, ThoughtSpot Dashboards second edition, and it just straight up says that dashboards are dead.
Wow.
And it's all because of GenAI. So could AI-powered analytics really be like a whole new beginning? They're even calling it a data renaissance. We're going to find out.
It is a pretty bold statement, but what I find really interesting is that ThoughtSpot isn't just like speculating or, making things up. They actually point to real problems that companies are having with adopting trenchboards and making them effective. Like, for example, their research shows that only 30% of companies say they have been successful in actually using dashboards.
Wow.
And get this, the average wait time for like a report is 4.5 business days.
4.5 business days, like we're sending stock quotes by carrier pigeon. I mean, come on. Yeah. In this day and age, that kind of delay is just not acceptable.
Exactly. Think about it. We can order an Uber, track a package across the world, get like a personalized news feed all in seconds. But when it comes to, really important business insights, we're still waiting almost a whole week. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, in this report, it also looks at like all the hidden costs of using these, traditional dashboards. And it's not just the wait time. It's just how inefficient the whole process is. They say that data workers spend 92% of their time on tasks that aren't even analytical.
Yeah, that's crazy when you really think about it. It's like hiring a master chef to do the dishes, And it really shows this big problem that they call analytics waste. Basically, when all the data is in separate places and all the tools are different and fragmented, it just creates a ton of extra work for data teams just to try and get everyone on the same page. And a lot of times the people who need the insights the most, like the frontline workers, they're left out completely.
So we've got these slow turnaround times, inefficient ways of working, and people who are just frustrated. But is that really enough to say that dashboards are, like, completely dead?
Well, ThoughtSpot argues that all these problems are just the tip of the iceberg. They say that traditional dashboards just cannot keep up with how dynamic data is today. We're talking huge amounts of data, all kinds of formats, and it's constantly changing. Dashboards are really built for static snapshots, not for this kind of real-time, multi-dimensional analysis.
Right, and then there's the whole dark data problem, like all this data that's just sitting there unused.
Because dashboards can't handle it.
Exactly. They estimate that more than half, like 50% of a company's data just goes unused. Just imagine all the potential insights buried in that dark data. It could be anything, like customer behavior patterns or hidden operational inefficiencies. And the report actually highlights a pretty compelling reason to, shed some light on this data. They say companies that actively use their dark data, they see on average a 5.25% increase in their yearly revenue. Whoa, a 5.25% revenue jump. That's not nothing. Suddenly this dark data thing seems a lot more real. It's like having a gold mine in your backyard and just never bothering to dig it up.
Exactly. And that's where ThoughtSpot's vision of a data renaissance comes in. They believe AI can be like the key to unlocking the full potential of data, both the kind we're already using and all that dark data that's just waiting to be discovered. But before we go too deep into their AI solution, I think it's important to take a step back and really understand what they mean by this data renaissance idea.
Yeah, I agree. Let's unpack that a little bit because it does sound pretty, grandiose. Like, are we going to start wearing powdered wigs and writing sonnets about data?
Well, maybe not the sonnets, but the main idea is about fundamentally changing how we approach data. They're talking about moving away from this technology-centric view, where everything's focused on, these complex tools and dashboards, and instead moving towards a more human-centric approach, where the technology kind of fades into the background. And anyone, no matter their technical skills, can access and understand the data.
So it's about democratizing data, making it accessible to everyone in the company.
Exactly. And they think AI is the key to making this happen, because instead of forcing everyone to learn these complex query languages or try to navigate these clunky dashboards, you could just ask your data questions in plain English, just like you would talk to a colleague.
Now that's a data renaissance I can get behind. But before we get too excited about AI, we do need to talk about the elephant in the room. Can we really trust AI with our data? Especially when we're talking about making these big business decisions.
That's a totally valid concern, and it's something the report acknowledges. They emphasize that AI-powered analytics isn't about blindly trusting algorithms. It's about building systems that are transparent, explainable, and ultimately accountable to human users.
So it's not about replacing human judgment. It's about giving humans better tools to use their judgment.
Exactly. And this is where the idea of human in the loop comes into play. It's about designing these systems where AI does the hard work of analyzing the data. But humans are always in control, verifying those insights, spotting any potential biases, and making the final decision.
It's a partnership, not a takeover. AI can help us, but we're still the ones steering the ship.
Exactly. Now, before we get into the details of how ThoughtSpot sees this AI-powered future, I think it would be helpful to look closer at the core problems they're trying to solve, because that will help us understand the potential impact of their solution.
Okay, sounds good. So what are some of the biggest data analytics problems that companies are facing right now?
Well, one of the most common problems is data silos. Lots of organizations have their data spread out across different systems and departments, which makes it really hard to get a clear picture of what's going on. And this doesn't just cause inefficiencies and delays, it also makes it nearly impossible to make decisions that are truly based on data.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle when you only have half the pieces.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of data quality. Even when you can access the data, it's often full of inconsistencies, errors, and missing information, which makes people not trust the data and makes it hard to get any meaningful insights from it. It's like trying to build a house on a foundation of sand.
And we can't forget about the skills gap. Not everyone's a data scientist, but everyone needs to be able to use data to do their jobs well. So how do we close that gap and help people who aren't tech savvy to become more comfortable with data?
So that's a really important question. And ThoughtSpot tries to answer it with their AI-powered analytics platform. They believe that AI can make data accessible to everyone, automate all those tedious tasks, and give everyone the insights they need regardless of their technical skills.
Okay, so they're proposing AI as the solution to these problems. But what does that look like in practice? How do they actually see AI changing the way we work with data?
That's where it gets really interesting. They talk about this concept called conversational analytics, where you can just ask your data questions in plain English, just like you're talking to a coworker, and the AI system will understand what you mean and give you personalized insights right away.
So no more messing with those complicated query languages or waiting forever for a report. You can just say, hey, what were our best-selling products last quarter? And just like that, you get the answer.
That's the idea. And they even take it a step further, talking about embedding these AI-powered insights directly into the apps and workflows people use every day. So imagine getting real-time data insights right in your CRM system, your email inbox, even your messaging app.
No, that would be amazing. It's about making data a natural part of everything we do.
Exactly. And it's about breaking down those data silos and giving everyone, from the CEO to the frontline worker, the power to make decisions based on data.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here in part one. We've looked at the problems with traditional dashboards, the potential of AI-powered analytics, and this exciting idea of a data renaissance. But before we get too carried away, we need to take a closer look at how ThoughtSpot's solution actually works. Like, what are the main parts of their AI platform? How is it different from those traditional BI tools? And most importantly, can it actually live up to all these big promises?
Those are all great questions, and we'll definitely answer them in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Welcome back. You know, I think it really helps to see how these ideas are actually being used. So let's look at some examples of companies that have already started using AI-powered analytics, like the ones highlighted in the report.
Yeah, let's bring this conversation down to earth a bit, because nothing makes an idea clearer than seeing it in action.
Absolutely. The report has some really interesting case studies. One that stands out is Capital One. They had this classic problem. Their teams needed to get important data from their ServiceNow system quickly, but they were stuck in that old cycle of requests and reports, which meant delays and bottlenecks.
So instead of getting the insights they needed when they needed them, they were stuck emailing back and forth with the data team and waiting days, maybe even weeks, for a report.
Exactly. It really slowed them down and made decision-making harder. But once they started using ThoughtSpot, everyone, from VPs to analysts, could actually query the data themselves in real time. No more waiting, no more bottlenecks.
Wow, that's cutting out the middleman for sure. It must have been a huge relief for the business users who needed that data, and for the data team who were always getting bombarded with requests.
Exactly. It freed everyone up to focus on what they do best. Another great example is Cox2M. They're a company that specializes in IoT solutions. And they were drowning in data. Their process for ad hoc reporting was a nightmare. It was slow, complicated, and expensive.
I can imagine the frustration. Trying to get insights from a mountain of data with bad tools, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
It really is. And for Cox 2M, it was costing them time and money. But by using ThoughtSpot, they were able to reduce their reporting time by 76%, going from 5 hours down to just 1.5 hours.
That's amazing. It shows how AI can speed things up, but also make the whole process so much more efficient. It's not just about saving time, it's also about saving money and resources.
Absolutely. And the impact goes beyond just efficiency. Let's look at Cigna. They're a big health insurance company. And they're using ThoughtSpot to tackle a challenge that affects all of us, making healthcare more affordable and accessible.
Now that's a use case with real-world impact. It's great to see data analytics being used to address such important issues.
It really is. Cigna's using AI-powered analytics to analyze huge data sets, to find patterns and trends in healthcare costs and how people use healthcare, and ultimately to find ways to make healthcare more efficient and affordable for everyone.
It's a perfect example of how AI can help us go beyond just understanding the what of data and really explore the why and the how. We're not just crunching numbers.
Yeah.
We're using data to solve real problems.
Exactly. And the last case study I want to mention is Guidewire. They provide software for the insurance industry, and their goal was to give all their users, no matter their technical skills, the ability to access and analyze data.
So they wanted to democratize data access so anyone could get the insights they need without needing to be a data scientist.
Exactly, and they did this by integrating ThoughtSpot right into their existing workflows, using a feature called ThoughtSpot Embedded, so no one has to learn a new tool. Or try to figure out complicated dashboards. The insights are right there in the apps they already use every day.
That's a really smart approach. It makes data feel like a natural part of their work, not some separate, siloed activity.
And what's really impressive is that they were able to launch this new platform really quickly because ThoughtSpot has these developer-friendly tools. It shows that AI can benefit both the end users and the developers and data teams.
Sounds like a win-win for everyone. And I think these case studies really show how AI-powered analytics is being used across all kinds of industries to solve a wide range of business problems.
It really gives us a glimpse into the future, where data is a seamless part of everything we do at work. We're not just talking about dashboards and spreadsheets anymore. It's about integrating data insights into how we operate and make decisions.
But we can't forget that with any new technology, especially one as powerful as AI. There are some important things to consider. We've talked about transparency and human oversight, but what are some other key factors to keep in mind as we move towards this AI-powered future?
That's a really important question. One of the biggest challenges is making sure that AI systems are fair, unbiased, and used ethically. AI algorithms are trained on data, and if that data reflects existing biases, the AI system will just continue those biases, which could lead to unfair or discriminatory outcomes.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we use it and the data we feed into it. We need to be aware of potential bias and take steps to prevent it.
Exactly. That means being careful about the data we use to train AI systems, carefully checking the results for any bias, and constantly monitoring and adjusting the systems to ensure fairness.
Sounds like a process of ongoing evaluation and improvement, not just setting it up and forgetting about it.
Exactly. And it requires a team effort, bringing together data scientists, ethicists, people who understand the specific field, and the users themselves, to make sure AI is used responsibly and benefits everyone.
Another challenge I can think of is the potential for becoming too reliant on AI. We've talked about AI helping human intelligence, but what happens when we start blindly trusting the algorithms?
That's a valid concern. It's important to remember that AI systems are tools. And like any tool, they have limitations. We can't just stop thinking critically and making our own informed decisions.
So it's about finding the right balance between using the power of AI and maintaining human oversight and judgment.
Exactly. We need to be a little skeptical of what AI tells us. Always question the assumptions. Double-check the insights. And be ready to override the algorithms when necessary.
It's about staying in the driver's seat, not letting the AI take the wheel completely.
Precisely. And this brings us to another important aspect of using AI: explainability. As AI systems get more complex and advanced, it becomes harder to understand how they reach their conclusions.
So the black box problem. You get an answer from the AI, but you have no clue how it got there.
Exactly. And that can be a big barrier to trusting and using AI. If people don't understand why the AI is making certain recommendations, they're less likely to accept them, especially when it comes to important decisions.
So how do we solve this explainability problem? How can we make AI systems more transparent and understandable?
That's something people are actively researching and working on. There are different techniques being explored, like creating visuals of the AI's decision-making process, providing explanations in plain language about the main factors driving the results, and developing tools that let users look under the hood of the AI system so they can understand how it works.
So we need AI systems that not only give us answers, but can also explain themselves in a way that makes sense to us.
Exactly. And this connects to the bigger idea of human-centered AI design. It's about creating AI systems that are powerful and accurate, but also intuitive, transparent, and aligned with human values.
So it's not just about the technology itself. It's about how we design and use it to make sure it serves human needs and goals.
Exactly. And as we continue on this path of AI-powered analytics, it's crucial to keep these things in mind, to make sure AI is a force for good, helping us make better decisions, solve tough problems, and create a more fair and sustainable future.
Those are some really insightful points. AI-powered analytics definitely has a ton of potential, but it also comes with some challenges. So for listeners who are excited about this data renaissance, but maybe feeling a little overwhelmed by all the technical stuff, where should they start?
That's a great question. And it's something we'll dig into in the final part of our deep dive. We'll talk about some practical steps you can take to embrace the power of AI while navigating these complexities and making sure AI works for you, not against you.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to getting into the details of how to actually put these ideas into practice. Okay, so we've really dug into the limitations of traditional dashboards and the potential of AI-powered analytics. And we've even heard some pretty inspiring stories of how companies are actually using it. But now let's get practical. For our listeners who are ready to embrace this data renaissance, where do they even begin?
It's easy to get swept up in all the excitement and think you need to completely change your whole data strategy overnight. But honestly, the most important first step is pretty simple. It's all about changing your mindset.
So before we even start talking about specific tools and technology, we need to rethink how we see data.
Exactly. It's about moving away from thinking of data as just a static report, something that's generated once a month and sits in a spreadsheet. And instead, start thinking of data as something that's alive, something you can interact with, ask questions, and learn from in real time.
I like that. It's like going from just reading a textbook to actually having a conversation with the material, asking questions, digging deeper.
That's a great way to put it. And this change in how we think about data is so important for really using the power of AI, because AI isn't just about automating tasks. It's about making human intelligence even better. It's about giving us the tools to ask better questions, explore data more deeply, and ultimately make smarter decisions.
So it's a collaboration, right? AI can do the hard work, going through all that data and finding patterns, but we humans, we're still the ones who have to make sense of it all, ask the right questions, and make the final decision.
Exactly. And to do that well, we need the right tools. The report actually lists some key characteristics of a truly AI-powered analytics solution.
Okay, let's break that down. What should people be looking for when they're trying to decide which platform to use?
Well, first of all, it has to be easy to use. We're talking about a consumer-grade experience, something that anyone can use, even if they're not a data expert.
So think iPhone, not that clunky old flip phone. We need tools that make people feel empowered, not intimidated.
Exactly. Another really important feature is what's called a live query architecture. This basically means you can ask your data questions and get answers instantly without having to wait for reports to be generated or anything like that. It's like having access to any information you need right when you need it.
No more waiting days for a report. That would be a game changer. It's like the difference between searching Google and waiting for a librarian to find a book for you.
Right. And of course, you need natural language search. This is what lets you ask your data questions in plain English, just like you'd talk to a person. No more dealing with complicated query languages or filters.
It's like having a data expert on call 24/7. You can just say, hey, what were our top selling products last quarter? Yeah. And bam, you get your answer.
Exactly. But it's not just about getting answers. It's about understanding those answers. That's why transparency and explainability are so important. We need AI systems that don't just give us insights, but also show us how they got there.
No more black boxes. We need to see the AI's thought process, understand why it's making certain recommendations. That's how we build trust and make sure we're not just blindly following the algorithm.
Absolutely. It's about staying in control, using AI to help us understand things better, not to think for us.
Okay, so we've talked about the mindset shift and the key things to look for in an AI-powered solution. But let's get even more specific. For our listeners who are ready to jump in, what are some concrete steps they can take to get started?
I always recommend starting by really figuring out what your needs and goals are. Like, what are the biggest problems you're having with your current data analytics setup? What questions can't you seem to answer? What decisions are you struggling to make?
So figure out the problem before you try to find the solution. Don't just buy the fanciest new tool. Make sure it can actually do what you need it to do.
Right. Once you know what you're trying to achieve, you can start looking into different AI-powered solutions that fit those needs. There are a lot of options out there, so it's important to do your research, try out some demos, and talk to other companies that have used similar
It's
solutions.
like buying a car. You wouldn't just buy the first one you see, right? You'd do your research, compare different models, take a test drive, and make sure it fits your budget and lifestyle.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to start small. You don't have to implement some huge company-wide system right away. Just pick one specific use case or problem area and experiment with an AI-powered solution to see how it works.
Dip your toes in the water before you jump in the deep end.
Exactly. And remember, this is an ongoing process. AI-powered analytics is constantly changing and improving. So stay curious, keep learning, and be open to adapting as new technologies come along.
And that's what's so exciting about this whole data renaissance idea.
Mm.
It's not just about using new tools. It's about a whole new way of thinking about data, a way that's more collaborative, more exploratory, and ultimately more human.
Exactly. It's about giving everyone the power to unlock the insights hidden in data and use those insights to make better decisions, solve complex problems, and create a better future.
That's a great way to put it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the future of data analytics. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
And remember, the most important question isn't what can AI do for me? It's what can we do with AI?
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the world of data.